welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another First Division review show. We're going to look back at the games of Friday on Monday. I knew I'd do that. We continue on though. These Friday and Mondays can catch you out, especially in the First Division. We're not used to Monday full fixtures in the First Division on Monday, to be fair, but we're going to give our predictions for Friday's games as well. So we'll start off a bit of a humdinger in Cobh, and it was a humdinger earlier on the season when they met Keith, when it finished Athlone 2. Cobh 3. This time I finished Cobh 3, Athlone 2. Whitmarsh with 2. Macaulay and Kenny for Athlone. Drynan got the third for Cobh. And this was 0-0 right up to the 45th minute, Keith. And Whitmarsh obviously scoring, giving them the lead early in the second half. Athlone equalised very quickly through Macaulay. And then Whitmarsh, a couple of minutes later, made it 2-1 to Cobh. It was 3-1 and 62, and Kenny with a late penalty for Athlone. Big win for Cobh, second win of the season. There's 7 points. Athlone still waiting for the first win of the season, and they'll be disappointed because maybe this is one they felt like they could have won in many ways in terms of the fact that Cobh had lost their last 6 games.
Yeah, they've been certainly going down to Commons hoping for a better result. They didn't learn anything from the first game they played against Cobh. If you looked at the highlights, a lot of the balls into the box that Cobh played, whether it be from throw-ins, corner kicks, or free kicks on the touchline, the defender from Athlone was really, really poor. And personally, I thought Cobh maybe should have scored a few more goals. You know, there was a few melees here and there in the box, and the ball just didn't drop for them. But It's great to see Whitmarsh on the score sheet again. We've been banging on, myself and Gavin have been banging on about him for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he certainly has the quality. He just needs the people to give him the assists, and he got 2 up in Athlone. He's got 2 against him in Cobh, so that's him on 4 goals this season. And again, Drynan, we mentioned him a few weeks ago as well, Keith. If those 2 can click for Cobh, they'll certainly be in a better position than they actually are.
Yeah, because Drynan scored the previous week as well, and young James O'Leary made his debut as well. Come on, sub for Cobh in that game. But when we say it was a bit of a humdinger, like there's 5 goals in the game, but ultimately, like Cobh were 3-1 up with a minute to go, so it was kind of like a comfortable enough 3-2, if that makes sense.
Yeah. From the highlights, it looked like Cobh kind of dominated the game. Didn't really have that many clear-cut chances. Macaulay's was kind of a ball over the top, and in fairness to him, he put it by the Cobh goalkeeper O'Leary. Is that his name? Sorry, Barron. Put it by him, and it was a good finish. And then the penalty. I mean, it was a blatant handball in the box by the Cobh defender, and obviously Kenny put it away. But yeah, from watching the highlights, Cobh certainly deserved to win, and probably should have won by more goals.
Yeah, like at this minute in time, it could come any match, let's be fair, but it is difficult to see where Athlone are going to get their first win because, no disrespect to Cobh, but if you do lose 6 on the bounce, and Athlone, we're doing a little bit better the last few weeks. It felt like this was a game that they could win on paper, and obviously they've come out of it and beaten like reasonably comfortably, I feel, in the end. The good thing for Cobh is they're starting to score some goals. They've conceded more goals in the last few weeks, actually, because we were saying they were quite miserly for where they were in the league. But they've started conceding goals. I think they conceded 10 in 3 games up to this game. But Whitmarsh can get goals going for him. Drynan's capable of hitting the net. Hegarty as well, if he plays, capable of scoring. But it's good for Cobh now that they're only, we'll get onto it in a minute, but they're only 3 points behind Bray now on the table as well. But we'll get on to Treacy, and Treacy beat Wexford 2-1, and there was drama here. At Markets Field as well. Curran gave Treacy the lead. Curran was very sharp actually the week before, and he had a lot of chances as well, and he'd be disappointed maybe he didn't find the net, but he did find the net in this game. Dobbs equalised after 76, and Christopher penalty in stoppage time moves Treaty up to 4th and ahead of Waterford. Another team we'll obviously get on to in a few minutes, but yeah, look, it's a great result for Treacy because they might look at Wexford and say to themselves that Wexford are potentially one of the teams that could be, you know, a challenge to them getting into the playoffs, because you fancy one of them may well take the last playoff place as the season goes on. So it's a big win for Treacy, and the way they won it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic win. It looked for long stretches of the game, and following the game when it was when I was following it on Flash Score, it was looked like, it's going to be 1-1, it's going to be a draw, which Wexford probably would have taken at that stage. Enda Curran, what a player to have in your team. Like, he has the experience, and he's a goal scorer. You know, he'll get you a goal here and there, and fantastic player to have. I'd love to have him at Bray. He's that type of player that kind of gives you his all every game. You know, and I know when we played them a few weeks ago in Bray, he was dictating to other players. So he's obviously the more senior player in the squad. So he's telling other players what to do here and there. So look, Treaty are rocking along nicely, aren't they? I kind of wrote them off a few weeks ago, and
they haven't lost since that Cork game, have they? I don't think they've lost since the Cork game, have they?
I'm not sure.
I don't think they have. Just at the top of my head there, I'm nearly sure they haven't lost since that Cork game. Even the game a week ago against Athlone, Treaty should be very disappointed. Actually, they didn't win that game as such because they created so many chances in the match. It would have been disappointing not to come out with the 3 points. But again,
you're right. By the way, they haven't lost since Cork. They've won 3, drawn 2. So
yeah, and that doesn't surprise me because I know we talked about it in the Cork match. I said it was very unlike them, and it's typical of them to come back fighting since and trying to show what they're made of. And they're such a difficult side, and people will keep writing them off, and they love that, like, won't they? To be fair.
Oh, absolutely. People wrote them off last season as well. You know, they threw a squad together a couple of weeks before the season started, and people wrote them off. They got to the playoffs, ultimately they were knocked out. I wrote them off this season. You know, I didn't expect them to. I thought it was kind of first season syndrome or second season syndrome. You know, they're not going to do as well. But fair play to Tommy Barrett. He seems to have a good old squad down there. He's hung on to a couple of players from last season. Obviously, there's been some departures as well. Look, they'll be happy where they are at the moment. They'll be happy where they are in the playoffs, and probably comfortably in the playoffs as well. Like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get on to the Carlisle grounds, and Bray did finally score at home, but it wasn't a happy outing for Bray to Carlisle. 2-1 defeated home to Longford Town. Barker after 54. Manley did score after 79. You wanted him to score, he did score, but Craven came back to haunch it 4 minutes into stoppage time to give Longford a 2-1 win. And look, Longford, to be fair to them now, are up to third in the league. 8 games gone, 5 wins, 2 defeats, 1 draw, conceded 5, 17 points, flying. But Bray would be devastated to lose it the way they did, won't they?
Yeah, there was nothing in the game, Keith. To be honest with you, it was two teams that went kind of ahead, and it was kind of, they matched each other in different areas. Graydon went off for Longford in the second half with an injury, so that kind of helped Bray. Even though he hadn't created much, he's always a threat in the break. The first goal Longford got, Barker, free header, can't be allowed a defender. And Barker scored free header against Cobh Ramblers a few weeks ago as well. So
is he a ghost or something? Do people not see him?
Yeah, surely you should be watching that, and they should have analysed that. And like, he drifted in, and free header, McGuinness had no chance. Bray's goal from a corner, Curtis Bourne crossed it in, and Manley headed it. Now, some are saying it was an OG. I thought Manley at the time. I thought it went directly into the goal, but he'll take that all day long. Like, he needs to kick on from here. It's his first goal of the season, if it does get credited to him. And hopefully he kicks on now and gets a couple of goals for Bray, because they certainly need it. That's only their 6th goal of the season, and we still haven't won at home. Just going on, you mentioned Darren Craven. Darren Craven's a great player. He had his first season in the League of Ireland with us last season. Didn't really offer as much as he is this season because he was just betting himself in. But this season, he said, I think that's his third or fourth goal of the season. So, but I must say, Keith, we were chasing the game as if we were going for an equaliser. We left 2 men at the back. You have to hold. You have to keep the house tight. You know, a draw would have been a bad result. And I know we've been barking on about draws the last few weeks, but a draw against Longford, who are up there, and then Craven gets played in on the halfway line, onside, obviously, because he was in his own half. He puts the ball with McGuinness 2-1, and game over.
It was a little bit like, do you remember the goals they conceded against Cork? Cork, wasn't it? The 6-0. Do you remember some of the goals they conceded in that game? There was an element of that kind of play in their play, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it was the same. It was the same Galway as well. The only difference is the Galway game, we actually were chasing an equaliser, and then they broke and they got their third goal. But this time we were chasing a winner. And when we got the corner, I nudged the lad beside me and says, "Geez, we're going to win this here. It's the final minute of the game." And it was heartbreaking. It was weird. Manley scores for us. He played for Longford. Craven and Barker score for them, and they played for Bray. It's just one of those games, isn't it? Like, it's. I don't know what to make of it. To be honest, you're all happy in the 92nd minute. You have a corner and nearly win the game. Then all of a sudden, bang! 6 seconds later, it's 2-1 to Longford. They go home with the 3 points. Yeah,
look, they're flying at the moment, and they're certainly at this minute in time in contention. Big Munster derby, and obviously something happened after this, I guess. But Waterford 1, Cork City 2. Young Michael Healy give Cork the lead after 9. Phoenix Patterson equalised after 59. And 4 minutes later, unfortunately for Waterford, Gilchrist scored to make it 2-1. Look, it's a huge win for Cork, top of the league with 23 points. They're now 9 points ahead of Waterford, for example. Waterford, since have lost their manager, Ian Morris has been sacked. And I suppose we'll talk about the game first before we get on to that. But, it was a massive win, as I say, for Cork. And, they really grounded the game out, I think, as well, didn't they?
Absolutely. And we spoke about it a few weeks ago. They won 1-0 in Wexford and they ground that result out. This was another game that was evidently that you had to ground out a win. First goal was an absolute beauty of a strike. Poor defending by Waterford. Should have been cleared further. And Matt Healy, what a strike. And it was great to see such a strong following. I know Cork and Waterford are close, but it was great to see such a strong following on a Monday afternoon, even though it was bank holiday. Phoenix Patterson then, again, another fantastic strike. What a goal he got. Like, I mean, it was a 1-2 and just in front of the 18-yard box, and there was no chance for the keeper. And like Gilchrist, Gavin has been going on about Gilchrist. He didn't know anything about him. He sure does now. He's holding Cork together at the back, and he's chipping in with goals as well. And for them to get that win 2-1 against what they would see as their rivals for the league title, absolutely brilliant. 9 points ahead of Waterford, and Galway didn't obviously have a game, so they got 3 points clear of them. So it's fantastic.
And obviously Waterford have lost their manager. But before I get on to that, he would have warned them about Ali Gilchrist, particularly from set pieces as well, because he had Ali at Shelburne as well. So it's things like that are disappointing. But Morris is gone now, and I'm not sure if it's the right decision or not. I mean, a lot of Waterford fans believe it's the right decision. I can understand that because I think the football is poor. The results have been poor, 3 wins in 10, full-time club. Some players like Phoenix and Junior and 2-3-year deals at the club as well. So I do get it from that point of view. But I'm also looking at Waterford as a whole and kind of looking at the whole club and trying to figure out where they're going, what coherent plan is there, what's their actual direction. Like some Waterford fans are saying that some of the football Morris played was kind of defensive and long ball, and obviously not getting results within that, and that's not what they want. But that's what Ian Morris kind of is. So did the board not understand that when they brought him in initially? So there's that side of it as well. I just don't know what to think about it really, but I just wonder with Waterford, is there joined up thinking at the club? What do they want? What type of manager do they want? Do they want a manager coming in and play pretty football, or do they want the manager to try, in fairness as well to Ian Morris, early on in his Shelburne tenure, the first time round, he actually struggled for results, by the way. The first time round, he struggled for results, and some Shelburne fans were saying the same things. Eventually, he won the league. Now, I'm not saying Waterford would have went on and won the league, because Cork are flying, you've got Galway. But it seems to me with Waterford, if something isn't happening well from day one, instantly, it's, we're cutting our cloth here and the manager's gone. How many times is the manager the problem, is what I'm saying? There's a bigger picture here than just Ian Morris going, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't like to see managers sacked. You've seen it in the English Premier League, whatever.
Yeah.
Players are throwing managers under the bus, like almost giving up on playing to get the manager out the door. And look, bookmakers are very, very rarely wrong, but they've got this wrong. They actually tipped Waterford to win the league this season. They were the least odds of any team in the league, and they're now 9 points behind Cork. And you say about Morris, he likes playing defensive football. Maybe the players didn't suit his actual style of play.
And if that's the case, exactly, Keith. And if that's the case, in which I think it is the case, by the way, whose fault is that then? Is that not the board's fault? In many ways.
You'd wonder who brought the players in.
Well, a lot of the players, to be honest, are their existing players from last season, aren't they? More or less. Cantwell came in. Obviously, he's barely been available. Let's be honest. You look at, you've got Dara Power there, you've got Wordsworth, you've got Griffin, you've got Phoenix, you've got Junior, you've got Keane Kavanagh. You know what I mean? The bulk of the squad is actually still there. And to be honest with you, last season, they got back into it after the struggle at the start. They got back into a fight. But I just found with the group of players that they have, which is the core group they have now, when the going gets tough, they give up a little bit.
If you look at last season, Waterford, they should never have lost a playoff. They had the players, the quality of players to beat UCD. And it's like they just crumbled towards the end of the season. Mark Bertram was sacked, or it was mutilated that he left. Earlier in the season, Kevin Sheedy was there with Mike Newell. So there's definitely something going on. I don't know what it is. And if you look, the Cork fans are in the left-hand side, or the left-hand side as we looked at that stand. There was very few Waterford fans on that side of the ground. And you'd wonder, are they starting to get a little bit of an itchy foot? I don't think I'll go and watch Waterford this week. They weren't great last week or whatever. I know it happens everywhere. But Waterford, they were always a good side, whether it be in the first division or they always kind of held their own a little bit in the Premier Division. So I don't know what's going on. The board, I don't know. Like, who's to say?
Yeah, see, I don't know. Just looking at it, I don't know what the plan is. And I'd love Waterford fans are going to be watching this. They're probably going to agree with some aspects and disagree with some aspects. But I'd love for them to come and tell me in the comments what they think is the overall, what's the plan at the club, what direction they want to go in. And it's alright to say they want to get into the Premier Division. That's not what I mean. What's the plan? Do they have steps? Is it just get in a manager and hope he's successful from day one, or else he gets sacked? Is that what the plan is? Because that's what it kind of looks like to me. And as I said before, like, who comes in now as well? Like, who comes in to go to England again and take their chances there? Do they maybe go for a Tommy Barrett, let's say? Does a Tommy Barrett want to go there? There's so many questions, you know what I mean? And I don't know what the answers are. But as I said before, at the end of last season, like, you're right, they crumbled. And, when things go wrong, it just snowballs at Waterford,
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the owner, Lee Power, he brought them into Europe, and then obviously the St. Pat's Waterford team happened and blah, blah, blah. But just touching on the new manager, Martin Russell might be a great show. Would Martin want to get down there? I don't know.
But would the same thing happen? This is the issue, isn't it? With the same time, will they start off kind of okay, and then a few results go back? And do the players, because a lot of the core players are there, like, amongst quite a few managers, let's say, there is a few of them there. Do they think, results are going bad? You know what? The manager gets sacked anyway.
Yeah. It's weird, like, because you have experience there. You have Cantwell, you have Eddie Nolan,
Wordsworth.
Surely one of them should be just taking the lads by the scruff of the neck and saying, lads, come on, we need to do this. We're fifth in the table. We shouldn't be fifth in the table. We're the best side in this league. And they have to believe that they're the best side in the league. Because if they believe in themselves, obviously the results will come. Whether Roddy Collins is in charge or Ian Morris is in charge, So, I mean, who's like, managers can get something out of some players, but can't get something out of other players, So I don't know who to bring in. Do you bring in a local lad who has a bit of has a bit of experience with the club and with the area.
They've almost tried every avenue, as you say. They have kind of brought in a local lad. They have, in my opinion, they should never got rid of Aaron Reynolds, but that's going into a completely different. We could be here all night. But anyway, they have tried the big name foreign managers, your John Sheridans and your Kevin Sheedy's, and they've obviously tried and tested manager in the first division. So if nothing is working when it comes to the managers as such, which hasn't been the case since Reynolds, then you have to look elsewhere as well. And also, if you think some of these managers aren't the right fit for Waterford or don't suit Waterford, aren't good enough for Waterford, if that's the case, if you think that, then you have to look at the board and say who's actually making these decisions. Do you know what I mean? So if the board, like I know and you know what Ian Morris generally brings, but if the board can't see that, then they're in bigger trouble than you would ever think, really, you know?
Yeah, at the end of the day, Keith, results, the buck stops with the manager, doesn't it? Like, I mean, I actually don't know what to say anymore about this because, you know, they've surprised so many teams that because they're failing like every week or every second week, and Cork go to Waterford and get it. Wexford were down there a few weeks ago, should have got a result as well. Yeah. So, I think it's just within the group of players, they just need to come together and say, boys, listen, we need to do something here. We need to up our game a little bit. This doesn't matter what manager comes in. Let's play for him and let's play for our futures, basically. Although with players on 2 and 3 year contracts, like, are they just sitting comfortably? Are they just saying, oh, I'm going to be paid regardless? I don't know. It
could be very interesting to see what Waterford fans actually think of this and let us know in the comments. But we'll move on to our predictions for Friday, and I think there's one game Saturday. Cobh and Cork. Cork derby here. Obviously, Cobh winning the last time out after a bad run. Cork, it's hard to see Cork not going here and getting a result because they're playing with a lot of confidence, and you just feel like there's a type of team at the moment as well, even if they don't play brilliantly, that they'll think to themselves, we can go and win. 3-1 Cork for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cork will go to Coleman's. I mean, it's a derby, obviously, but they're playing so well. Like they had a bit of an off night against Bray, and we already said it that it may have been because he didn't play they were missing a week almost. So, maybe, yeah. I think Cobh, you know, Whitmarsh is in the goals again, so, and he's against his old club, so maybe, I don't know, he'll have something to prove. But Cork aren't conceding many, so I'm going to go 3-0 Cork City.
Galway United and Bray. This is actually a game, and this is the funny thing with Bray. You feel in these kind of games, going to Cork or Galway or say Waterford, like for example, that they can really stamp something in the game and go and be defensively tight and resolute. And I wouldn't be surprised if it came away from Terry Land was going to call it in the DC Park with a draw here. Probably 0-0 though.
I hope it's not. Again,
like, I mean, 4-0, you'd be saying, I wish it would finished 0-0.
If you're going to give us a draw, give us a 4-all or something, you know what I mean? But Jesus. No, look, Bray have been steady the last few weeks. They had a good performance in Cork. They had more of the ball in Cork. They played well against Longford. Treaty in the Wexford games, not so much. But before the game the other night, you were unbeaten 5, and you know, we'll paint that picture. We'll paint the picture, but at the end of the day, like, we hadn't won many games in that period. So you can say 0-all. I'm gonna go with probably a 1-0 Galway. I think it'll be tight, but I don't think Bray will score, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Wexford and Waterford. Obviously, Wexford have been quite good in the last few weeks. They'll be disappointed with the defeat in Treaty, but I got to see this as a typical, the manager's gone and Waterford go out and win 2-0 or something like that. You know, I really see them doing it, because it's how they kind of tend to react, to be honest with you. And they do have goals in their team, let's be honest, on their day. You know, we've talked about it before. There's a lot of goals in their team, a lot of firepower when they're up for it. But I get the feeling they will be up for this one, and Wexford might be in for a difficult evening. So 2-0 Waterford for me, anyway. Yeah.
Look, if it's a soggy night in Wexford, some of them Waterford players won't like that, you know, because it was a wet occasion down in the RSC for the Cork game, and Obviously, Cork came away with a victory. So, Wexford, it's a tough out place to go. They had chances against Treaty. Probably should have taken Jack Doherty, Dinny Corcoran. So they're definitely creating chances, and they're creating chances in every game they play, which is good for them. They just need to take those chances. Aaron Dobbs seems to be back in the goals as well. So he might start this week. I'm going to go with a 1-1. I don't think Waterford. I don't think they'll react. Adam Ranger's gone. Ian Ryan, obviously, at Wexford, hasn't playing well. So, definitely a 1-1, I think, this week.
I wonder if Ian Ryan be a contender as well. Longford take on Treaty on the Saturday. And, Longford have been flying home and away, not conceding goals. They're in a great position. But I think Treaty might go here and be stubborn and really frustrate the home crowd. 1-1 for me.
Yeah, as you said, Longford are going well at the moment. They're 6 points off Cork, 2 games in hand. So look, they'll have to stay on their coattails, and I think they'll just edge this one. Treaty, yeah, you're right. They are a stubborn old team, aren't they? They just don't offer up a lot of chances to teams.
I'll tell you what, if Pats were playing them at the weekend in the Cup and Markets Field, I'd be nervous about it, put it that way.
Yeah, because they're one of those teams, and I always mention the word dogged. They're just
they dogged. Are. I know it's not a criticism; it's a compliment. They're dogged. They can play good football as well. They've done that, but they're able to dig in. And there's a lot of teams with good footballers who can't dig in. And for me, teams that dig in, it's I love that personally, because that's what a league is. It's dogged. It's over 36, 7, 8 games, depending on the league.
And Longford, Graydon went off, obviously, as I said, so I'm not sure if he'll be back for Longford. And Robinson went off for Longford as well with an injury, so they're 2 key players for them. So you never know. Treaty have your man Willie Armshaw, is it? He's a bit of a secret weapon for them. I was speaking to the guy who knows Sports Treaty, and he said he just doesn't have the legs for the 90 minutes. So, but if he can be swung off the bench, might grab a goal for Treaty. Longford obviously.
They do have goals, to be fair. Like McChristopher's able to score goals. Curran, we've mentioned, is able to score goals as well. So they've guys who can score goals for them, to be fair.
Jack Lynch as well.
Jack Lynch, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to go against you here as well. Gary Cronin will be delighted with a 1-0 for Longford.
That's fair enough, guys. We'll leave it there. Keith, thanks for coming on. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, guys. Hit your bell notification button and let us know what you think in the comments. Particularly, I'm interested to know about the Ian Morris sacking at Waterford, and we'll see you later. Cheers, Keith.
Cheers, Keith. Take care.